David, it's always a pleasure speaking with you. You always have your fingers on the pulse when it comes to the fintech industry,
Thank you.
I appreciate you joining me today.
Thanks for inviting me.
So the big million-dollar question, or even billion-dollar question at this point, is there seems to be this lack of global seamlessness in the industry. What do you think will ultimately solve it? Is it identity verification? Is it big data? In your opinion, what is it?
Well, I think we need both things to make it work. So we need the seamless global value transfer. So this is the stuff people like Libra are talking about. But it's not only cryptocurrencies and so on. You've also got a variety of RTGS solutions emerging. So we need the seamless global value transfer, of course, but to really make it work, you've hit the nail on the head. The barrier is not money, it's identity. It's KYC, AML, CTF, PEP, and the fact that you have these colossal barriers for people joining the global financial system because they can't prove who they are and because they have no credit history and all this sort of thing. That's really where we need to focus. And it didn't take a genius like me you heard yesterday, Stripe stood up there and said, our focus is KYC identity. Amazon stood up and said it's about Amazon buyer identity. You heard this morning from Libra, about the new AML tools they're going to have to build using AI and all this sort of stuff. So I don't think it's only me saying it. It's money 2020, but identity really is the issue.
And who are you seeing as the key players right now who are truly innovating to make a difference in that space?
Well, you've got two different kinds of innovation. You've got players, what would an example, Alloy, somebody like that, who's trying to make the KYC process faster and more efficient and better to serve existing infrastructure. And then you have people like Calibra who are building this, and Uber as well actually, who are building these new global wallet infrastructures. And I have a slight feeling that maybe we're being a little too conservative by trying to fix identity inside those current structures. And I'll give you a very simple example to illustrate that, which is, people are talking about how is Facebook going to do KYC and, using driver's licenses or passports or whatever. Sure. But actually, in many parts of the world, even if you don't know for certain I'm Dave Birch, right? If you're Facebook, you know who I talk to, you know who my friends are, you know where I go. Because of the wallet, you'll know what I'm buying, who I'm getting money from. You can argue from a society point of view, from a law enforcement and order, and you could argue that's actually a better kind of identity. You know what I mean? So I think what we're seeing is the emergence of some new thinking and alternatives, and actually that's been pretty interesting the last couple of days.
And we've really seen a shift in the fintech space where it seems like a lot of the confusion has shook out, if you will, and you've seen true winners emerge and kind of a couple folks fade off. But
I think what you're saying is you probably remember the early days of this. It's like, we're going to destroy the banks and overthrow the system. And,
exactly. Yeah. It feels like things have settled.
Yeah. So what's actually happened is the kind of bank fintech sort of partnership models have started to work out. In many ways, the banks have kind of outsourced their traditional R&D spending to the fintech community and are then partnering. But also you have these kind of regulatory pressures that you didn't have when all of this started. The pressures for open banking and the European directives and all this kind of stuff. So you're right, I think it is kind of regularizing, but actually that's pretty good because in terms of the services to the end customers, they get great new services. So I think that's worked out okay.
Absolutely. And in your opinion, what's the biggest pain point or challenge in our industry right now?
Well, right now it's regulation. So, we're all here, and I'm here, with kind of more of a technological hat on, and we're all interested in the technological innovation. But at this instant, there is no global regime. In Europe you have electronic money institutions and payment institutions and PSD2 and certain kinds of open banking. In the UK we have a different kind of open banking. In Australia they're introducing another kind of open banking, which actually is probably better than ours, right? In the US you still need 50 different state money transmission licenses to get anything off the ground. So if governments were going to really try to, at the big picture, reduce the overall cost of financial intermediation to deliver better financial services to their societies at a lower cost, you have to start with better regulation, and that really is a challenge.
Absolutely. And to wrap up, what are you most excited to learn about here at Money 2020 this year?
Actually, the key things I'm here to find out about are actually, as you'll have guessed, more on the identity side. So what I'm interested in, identification technologies, in particular the kind of AI, machine learning, where that can really accelerate. I think the authentication stuff, I see that really as a solved problem. So that stuff's cool, like face prints and thumbprints and whatever, but I think that's kind of sort of solved. But we're also seeing the beginnings of what you might think of as the sort of reputation economy. You see sign-in with Apple and persistent service provider pseudonyms and that kind of stuff. So with privacy shifting from being this kind of back office hygiene factor to being part of the upfront consumer proposition, I think we'll see more action in that identity space, but in more interesting ways.
Absolutely. Well, David, it is always a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Shannon.
From Medici Studio, I'm Shannon Rossick.